Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Sanders, and this is Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection. Today, what I want to do is sort of wrap up, I guess, 2018, and actually look forward to some ideas that I had for 2019. First off is my Grail watch, and it has changed slightly. It was a Frederick III by Langenheim, and it turned to a Frederick II. And I like a Frederick II because I like Arabic numerals over Roman numerals, and it's a very nice watch. It's one I like a lot. It has what's called the trigonal bridge on the back, and so you can see a lot of the movement, and it's really done by a master craftsman in Marco Lang. So that's what I have a target date for next year. I bought one watch this year, and this was my Maurice Lacroix. I lowballed it and they accepted it, so I thought, what the heck? But this had to be a year of saving because last year, 2017, I really overdid it. Okay, so looking forward to 2019. Got my Grail watch set up. That's number one. And it's sort of a thing that I'll be looking at. Uh, Another thing I want to do is that I want this. Of course, it's related to some extent to to my Grail watch, but there is minimal bridges and plates, and I'd like to play around with watches in terms of my pretentious watchmaking that goes on. And the one up in the upper left is a trigonal bridge, and this is by Langenheim. That particular one is called the Caliber 5. That's when they first came out with that. And that one does a little more than just time, minutes and hours and seconds. Another one that has opened up a lot is Moritz Grossmann. They use a two-third plate, and that's another one. So this is the kind of thing I'm gonna look for, and because there are a lot of really good reasons for this, and I know it can be more expensive in the production of a watch. I suppose it's easy to put on one big one big plate as opposed to all these little ones, which makes it easier for repair and taking them apart and putting them back together again. But I like the ones that are opened up that you can see the movement and actually perhaps work on them a little. All right, so that's another thing I'm going to be looking at. Another thing, this is sort of already started, and this is in a couple watches I have. And in particular, this was my Beauvais. I think I had mentioned this before. And the thing I like about the Beauvais is the amount of movement that's in the case. And they were pretty much made for each other. And I know that's not possible with all watches, but the extent to which I can find 75% of the case is taken up by the movement is something I really like. This one is 80%. And in looking at some other ones, my Harboring 2, that takes up 78% of the case. But then, on the other hand, my El Laura, which has in it, I think it's called El Laura 1051 or something. It doesn't matter what they call it. It's a Peizu 7001, which is an ETA 7001. But you can see, like, all of that space that could have been for a larger balance, a bigger barrel for a longer life, all kinds of things. But they just sort of plopped it in there. A lot of companies do that, and of course it's practical. You got some movement, you want to use it on a lot of different watches. On my Vacheron Constantin 1921, American 1921, it was the first watch that had the Vacheron Constantin 4400, and it's little small. It probably, I would say, it's close to 70%, maybe somewhere right in there. And I always wonder about that. Why didn't they make it bigger for that watch? Because it's a 40 millimeter watch, and in the 4400 it was a little smaller. Well, this last year, Vacheron Constantin came out with the 36 millimeter of the American 1921, Easter East American 1921. So that all watch companies do that to some extent. They'll have a smaller movement that can fit a lot of different case sizes. But I'm trying to find the ones that have the best fit. A couple other examples along the same lines. Recently, somebody sent me this Maurice Lacroix, and it uses up only 64% of the case. On the other hand, here was a shaped movement called the Hebdo Mardari, which is means a weekly one, and this is in a Parmigiani. And that's another thing that I like is what I call a shaped case, or it's a case-shaped movement, so that it fills up the movement. And that's one of my favorite Parmigianis, because you can do so much more. I mean, it gives the movement designer more room for added functions, bigger balances, bigger barrels, all kinds of things like that. So I like that. And so that's one of my many pursuits this year. Another thing I'm going to do for 2019, I'm going to start looking at experimenting with different kinds of movements, and included in that are some of continuing on making watches like I have been doing. I sort of hit a funny place that I wasn't making them for a while because the parts that I needed didn't work out for some reason. For example, I got a case for these watches, and the case turned out to be too small for the dial, and then another one, the hand was missing, and so forth. But just want to let you know that, at least for me, I'm back on track with that. That's something else I want to do, and I want to try it with some other movements. The Vaucher manufacturer Fluier, or VMF 5401, that has an automatic in it. I bought my first automatic for making a watch, so I'm gonna do it's a fairly inexpensive one, but I'm gonna do that, and then I'm hoping to make one with the VMF 5401. Waiting on that. The other thing I want to do is that I want to take a look at some other pocket watches. I've been working a lot with the 6498 and the 6497 by ETA, and the Chinese clones of it by Seagull, because the 3600 and the 36020, and but they're essentially the same one. So I thought, well, I'll take a look at some other ones, and this one that somebody suggested was this Hamilton pocket watch with a movement of 992B. So anyway, so I want to do some more experiment in that area. Another thing that I want to do is the pursuit of the Jacquet 736. Don't ask me why. This is something that I got this Maurice Lacroix, and it had the Jacquet 736. It's actually La Jupiter 736-2 or 3 or 4, something like that. But I also found another watches, Baume Mercier, Dunhill, Dubois at Fields, and I think there's some other ones. But this is sort of like a mad Easter egg hunt that I'm off on. It's something I'm going to continue, and it's always fun. I mean, there's something like that. It's just sort of something I like to do. By the way, too, this is the other thing that sort of has come up. Sometimes we as watch collectors get in these stupid arguments. I mean, really stupid. Some people do it almost like they've got to win. There's something to win, because if their way of collecting, they collect a certain kind of watch. It's Acme watch of some sort, and all of their watches are that way. You know, I don't care. It doesn't matter if somebody you got a lot of money. You can buy some really incredibly nice watches, but if you don't, you can also. And so to hear certain kinds of derogatory remarks made by people who, if they see something that somebody else has and it doesn't fall into their acceptable category, I find that it's worse than childish. It's a kind of immaturity that is, I just don't like it at all. And I don't like it in myself if I do it. I mean, you look at something and you go, huh, you know, that's not that's not right. So what I want to do is that I want to explore a lot of different companies that I haven't looked at before. I've been looking at some inexpensive watches more recently, and some of the reviews and discussions I've done. I did one of Hamilton and one of Oris and Longines. These are generally standard horology watches. And I'm not, to be honest, I'm not too interested in any of them per se, except for certain ones. And I found a lot of really interesting watches I'd like to have in there. Christopher Ward's another one. Yeah, they have ETA movements in them. They have the hand wound ones, often have ones that I like the 18,000 vibrations per hour, the 2.5 hertz ones, with the ETA 67, 64, 97, and 98-1. The older ones are slower, which appeals to me. But this is the thing, is that what I like, who cares what I like? Nobody should care what I like. When I talk about something I like, I'm not saying you should get it. I'm simply saying, hey, this makes me happy. What makes you happy? If you like Rolexes, you like Rolexes. If you like a certain kind of Rolex, like I do, a Prince, the Cellini Prince, which I think is just the neatest watch, and most people don't, but that's okay. They don't have to. So what if everybody gets it? If you sort of identify with a certain brand, and there are lots of people that like that same brand, that's fine too. I mean, like, you can like watches any way you feel about it. And I don't like these jackasses who make derogatory remarks about it, because generally at some point they're making derogatory remarks about themselves and their own taste, because there's always going to be somebody with a better collection than you. They're going to have more money, they're going to have more resources, they're going to have more background. And you don't learn anything by calling other people's taste and what they like, calling them names. I don't like that at all. So I'm going to promote that. I mean, promote taste in all mechanical watches. Now, I'm just going to have it mechanical. There's certain things about mechanical watches that I don't like. I don't like the use of silicone in mechanical watches. They're mechanical watches. They ought to be made out of metal. But not everybody thinks that, and that's okay. That's just, but those are my tastes. And I hope that we can have discussions and discoveries, because if somebody is afraid to say, hey, I found something really cool, and, well, that's a crummy watch or something like that, what good is that? I mean, none of us learn anything. And I don't mean to sound preachy, but I've seen there's so many jerks that just, I don't know. In fact, they revel in it almost, and that's too bad. So, not going to do that. And I got to find out more watches. I've had one of the ones that I recently found is Rolf Lang, who turns out to be the father of Marco Lang, who was Lang and Hein, but it's not Lang and Son. It's Lang. It's not Lange like the A. Lange and Son, Unsunden. That's the best I can do. Anyway, in terms of names, well, I've had an opportunity to meet with Rolf Lang. That to me is going to be very interesting. I'll hope to have an interview, to have it here, and I hope to interview other Oh, watch people. I don't like to talk too much about the business end of it. Not because it's not interesting, but what is most interesting is sort of how they conceive of a watch in terms of its everything about it. Sometimes there are these pat kind of things, and so I usually ask them questions they're not thinking about. Like I ask a bunch of guys about their speed, why they use the 2.5 hertz or at least below 4 hertz. And I got some wonderful responses, but they didn't, there was no pat answer for it because most people don't ask them that. And I hope to do more of that kind of thing and ask myself, and if somebody has something that they like it for God's sakes. You don't owe anybody an explanation for any watch you like. One of the coolest collections I saw, this is years ago, some guy collected these goofy Tag Heuer. They're little funky ones, and they, they all looked alike, but they were different colors, and he loved them. And I think, that's the coolest thing. It's a guy collected nothing but Omegas. That's what you like to do. That's fine. Um, I hope that as a watch collecting community, we can do that, have better communications, talk with each other, without having to worry about somebody calling your watch some crummy name. In fact, if somebody does that, they get, boot them from wherever I can. Let's share information, try to help each other out, and we'll be smarter because of it. Okay, well, listen, I don't want to sound like I'm preaching, even though I am, but I want to wish everyone a happy new year, and I hope that 2019 will be a good year for everybody. And oh, by the way, this is an invitation to subscribe if you'd like. And most important of all are your comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say, what you think, what are you going to do for 2019? Okay, so until next time, I guess it'd be Friday, next Friday. I'll see you next year. Bill Sanders for Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection.